Hello and a very warm welcome to the late-breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking. Reviewing today the British Grand Prix won by Max Verstappen. How quick until this joke gets old? It probably already is there.
It's quite old.
But Max Verstappen won the race. But joined on the podium today by Lando Norris in second, McLaren's first podium at their home Grand Prix for 13 years. And Lewis Hamilton found his way onto the podium as well, only his 14th podium at the British Grand Prix. Three different constructors on there. Sam, what do you make of that one?
I mean, it's great to see that McLaren really bounced back. Quite annoyed that Jamie Chadwick, on her very first bold prediction, was one position away from getting it right. Yeah, I've got to get it off my chest. If you haven't seen it, folks, go and check it out. We've got a video on YouTube where you can watch it in reel or TikTok format.
Oh, yeah.
We're everywhere.
They're
breaking F1. You know, get that plug in soon. But, you know, absolutely fantastic to see that McLaren aren't just a kind of a one-stop tour of the top flight. They're here to stay. And, you know, Piastri looking good. Lando looking saucy, and it was, you know, good to see Hamilton and Norris and the like battling up front. Well, you know, as close to up front as you can get when Verstappen's around, but it was enjoyable. What do you think?
It certainly happened.
It did happen, correct? We watched it live.
We had a race. Yeah, it was all right. You know, as a Brit, you know, Brexit bias and all that. Happy to see Lando up there, obviously, and then Hamilton as well.
Brexit Grand Prix.
The Brexit Grand Prix, as it shall now be known. But yeah, it was...
Does it really suck?
Yeah. Really sucks. Yeah. It actually... And it also, overpromises on what it...
Right, we're not... No. Dangerous territory. Coming up on today's episode, we'll be discussing our moment of the race much later on. Stroll versus Gasly, that was an interesting battle that didn't end up particularly well for either driver, so we'll be discussing that. Sergio Perez and his recovery after not making Q3 again, but coming back to P6. Ferrari having a fantastic day, but we'll start with McLaren, Lando Norris in P2, and for a short time, or actually for more than a short time, it looked like it might be a double McLaren podium, but ultimately the safety car not coming out at the right moment for Oscar Piastri, who finished still a very respectable P4. Sam, do you think they maximised this race today, given how quick that car looked?
Oh, it's tough. They were definitely done dirty by the safety car. And I commented to Harry when the race ended, I did feel quite sorry for Oscar Piastri. Because it was almost a little bit out of his hands at that point. You know, got a little bit unlucky with the pit time. You can only goal hang for a safety car as long as possible. And, you know, they tried to stick on top of the scratching. I'd said to Harry again, I said, there's every chance here that Piastri might actually undercut Lando because they were only 2 seconds apart when Piastri stopped, and Piastri got that stop in, I think, 4 or 5 laps before Norris did. You know, it is a strategy, we've mentioned it before, that you can stick it out as long as possible and hope for a safety car. The likes of Hamilton and Norris, I think, got a little lucky at that point because it allowed them to very comfortably cruise into that pit lane. But with all of the carnage that ensued at the end of the race, with how close everyone was going to be, with how... Do you want to not hit the mic while I'm talking?
Sorry about that.
Go. Just give it a try.
I almost did that subtly as well. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it was close. You know, with all the carnage that was going on, with the fact that you've got, you know, Russell, Alonso, Perez is coming through the field, Hamilton's got the soft tyres on, and McLaren's both on the hard tyre, which is interesting. I kind of understand why Piastri put that hard tyre on. He was running the normal race strat, although... When you see George Russell do 3,000 laps on the soft tyre, I'm surprised that no one else fancied doing it. But then what surprised me the most was when they put Norris onto the hard tyre and not the soft tyre. I really do think that they would have been more comfortable in their second place had Norris been on the same tyre as Hamilton. But you know what? I think, considering all the variables that they went through, they can't be disappointing in this, especially how the season has gone. You know, they were there fighting for fringe points on a very good day before Austria, and now, if the race had gone smoothly, they'd have had 2 cars comfortably on that podium, I think. So, what a turnaround. Mercedes surely scratching their heads at how this car is arguably comfortably faster than them at the moment. And the fact that, you know, the Red Bull weren't able to really cruise too far away, it wasn't incredibly dominant as we've seen. If I was Zach Brown, I'm walking away with a big old smile on my face, and I'm sure they're thinking we're going in the right direction. So yeah, I think maximise, hard to tell with hindsight, seems a bit easier. I think they did absolutely everything they could. The one thing I would change is putting Norris on the softs.
we'll chat the hard tyre decision a little bit more in a moment's time. I have to say, with the Piastri pit stop, obviously before the safety car, and Lando Norris still having to make that stop, the sadistic side of me was very interested to see how that was going to play out, because I can't imagine Lando Norris would have been particularly happy if Piastri's strategy got him ahead of him, and whether there would have been a position swap or not, who knows? But obviously it didn't go that way. Harry, what did you make of their race? Do you think 18 points for Norris, 12 for Piastri was about as much as they could get here?
Just about. I'd say they maximised Piastri's race because they couldn't do anything about that safety car, and there was no point bringing him in again like Ferrari did with Leclerc. So what, there just wasn't much they could do.
Just a bit unlucky.
Just unlucky. So they did as much as they could with Piastri. Norris, I guess in terms of position, yeah, they maximised. I think they, if they look back on it, they probably could have been, as Sam said, a bit more comfortable in P2. And in all honesty, I think if they put him on the softs, he would have been closer to Verstappen by the end because it wasn't even that big a gap.
Arguably, it was Norris's great defending that kept him where he is.
Exactly.
And if it was Piastri even, and that's no disrespect to him, I feel like Hamilton would have possibly have found a way past in those opening laps.
Yeah. So I totally agree. I know a couple of people are saying McLaren are justified in their decision to go with hards, but I don't.
It was more Norris than the tyres.
Definitely more Norris. Yeah. So yeah, in terms of positions, yes, maximised. I don't think Norris is off to go and try and fight Verstappen in the last bit of the race if he was on softs, but I do think he would have been, as Sam said, much more comfortable in P2. But yeah, not a lot of difference in. I know off the right off the mark there was, but not a lot of difference in tyres this weekend.
We're on the harder set. I guess maybe that helped. They were running that new hard tyre, weren't they? The one that they brought back a year because the teams had adapted so much that the Pirelli had moved the 2024 hard tyre to become the 2023 hard tyre, which was a bit experimental. And then if you look at the compounds where we were at in terms of C5 down to C0, the soft tyre was the C3. So which makes it actually pretty robust.
Really love a soft tyre that can do 2/3 of the race.
Yeah, I mean, you could have done a skip there, couldn't you? You could have made it the C4 and then had C2 and C1 as your options. That would have made way more sense.
Or just go C5, C4, C3. Have some two stops.
C3PO.
Have some. Well, exactly.
Have some robots.
R2D2.
Have some droids in.
Yep.
Damn right. Yeah, I don't know where to go from there.
Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you on those tyres, those C1s. I'd love for someone to do a challenge, well, specifically Alex Albon to do a challenge.
Yep.
How many laps could you do under, let's say, 1 minute 35 on those hard tyres? I reckon it would be 300.
Infinite.
Yeah, you're right. It didn't seem as if there was much tyre differential at all. In a lot of races, the soft tyre is completely discarded of after qualifying, never seen again. Whereas here, it was a viable starting tyre for George Russell and obviously a viable finishing tyre for many of the others that pit at the safety car. I think with the safety car and going back to McLaren specifically, yeah, it's racing 101, isn't it? It happens. And I think if you have a long career, as I think Piastri will, and many of the other drivers that are on the grid will as well, you will sometimes benefit from those safety cars. Sometimes you won't. That's one of the advantages of going longer, which is what Lando Norris and Verstappen and Albon and others did. You play into that strategy. Only sometimes will it work out for you, but it's Piastri's only half a season into his F1 career. I'm sure if he's still around in 5 years' time, he will have also benefited where others won't have from safety cars. So unlucky, but I think there will be other opportunities for him, and I think he probably got everything out of the race that he could. A lot of comments directed towards Lando Norris's great race, rightfully so. Piastri was there. He was right there the whole way. It never felt as if Lando Norris was in danger of heading off into the distance. I don't think it ever became more than a couple of seconds or so. So full respect to him for that. Lando Norris, yeah, I can understand his decision to go longer. Obviously, Verstappen did the same thing. McLaren overall, strategically, I can respect that they did something different with their two cars. Maybe if it had worked out where they didn't feel like there was much pressure from P4, it could have worked where Verstappen came into the pits a few laps earlier than Lando Norris, and then the safety car happened. And suddenly, Verstappen's got to overtake Lando Norris again, probably wouldn't have mattered, but at least they're trying things, which I can respect when you've got a 2 versus 1 situation that was afforded to them as a result of Perez not being in the mix. So I think McLaren pretty much got everything they could. 30 points from the race. They're now up ahead of Alpine. I'm still not quite sure what Alpine are smug about from the beginning of the year.
Le Plan going to plan.
Any race now, we're going to find out why. But at least for now, they've fallen another position to McLaren. But yeah, it just shows when you're in that midfield scrap like McLaren and Alpine and these other teams are, if you get it right, even let's say this race is a complete one-off and McLaren are back to where they normally are. I don't think that's how it will happen, but let's say it does. This result could be the entire difference between them getting 5th, getting 6th, or even worse than that. So, yeah, well done to them.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised at how good the upgrades were. Can't lie, it was a bit of a mug. I kind of said that when Zach Brown was like, we'll be fighting at the front, I did semi-laugh in his face. Guess there's now egg on mine.
Mika Hakkonen's got a prediction right for the first time in 10 years.
He'll be coming out of retirement now. Sorry, sabbatical.
Any day now is going to announce.
That's my seat next season.
Yeah, it's quite amazing how those upgrades have worked. And maybe, as you say, Ben, it could be track specific, but then it worked pretty well in Austria. So, should work elsewhere.
Mercedes got to be scratching their noggins now, right? Albon was closer to them before the safety car was than they were to the McLarens at one point. Like, they are arguably, on everyone's good day, possibly the 3rd slowest Mercedes powered car now. Aston Martin have been equal, if not better, and McLaren now are better.
I think even just being second for them is going to be equally frustrating because
Painful.
It was Aston Martin, now it's McLaren this race.
Bit of leapfrogging going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall, actually, Mercedes pace-wise were not that far off McLaren. I think what cost them ultimately was qualifying because they were stuck behind the Ferraris throughout that first stint. As soon as Charles Leclerc went into the pits and George Russell had clean air, that gap to Piastri back to Russell didn't really move. It was 5 seconds with Russell on.
I think it dips into the 4s at one point.
Yeah, it went down to about 4.5 at its lowest, and then at 5.5 at its highest. So as soon as the traffic had cleared, I think Mercedes and McLaren were about even playing field, but that of itself is still a worry. Even if McLaren weren't that far ahead of Mercedes, the fact that it's a debate, as you say, that they've got 2 customer teams that are right there with them, not great.
Shows how draggy they are as well. The fact that when Hamilton is alongside Norris, got the better run, is on the soft compound tyre, and McLaren, which was the slowest car known to mankind.
This baffles me. How have they done this?
Yeah, within 2
so
races.
Slow in a straight line.
It's now faster than Mercedes in a straight line. And it was pulling away without any slipstream on worse tyres with a worse exit.
I've got a theory.
Go on.
Go on then.
Ferrari 2019 engine.
Oh, here we go.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, though, Ben. They weren't doing anything.
Don't worry about it. Actually, I haven't got a tinfoil hat. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Save that for another week. Yeah, I agree with what you've both actually said on the hard tyre as well. I was just going to come to that in that I think with Piastri, it somewhat made sense if they do have more concerns about tyre wear. But with Norris, with that many laps to go, get on the softs, lad. Get on the softs. I can understand why he questioned it. And I think I agree with what you said, Harry. I think they are a little bit lucky, as in the McLaren, the team, that Lando Norris didn't make them look a bit more foolish than perhaps they actually were, because I don't think that was a good call.
I think Piastri just ends up being the unluckiest guy on the grid at that point, because I would have been so interested to see where he would have come out the pits in comparison to Norris had they both pitted under normal green flag conditions. Because, like you said, Ben, never let him go the whole race. He was there, and they had to radio, didn't they? He won't attack you. He won't try and pass you. If Piastri
what do you make of that call? Of interest,
I'm okay with it at this point. They're not in a championship fight. They're not going to turn this whole season around. Their positions are comfortable. Norris is the natural team leader at the moment, and what Piastri was achieving is still a great achievement for him. He can look at that and go, no shaming what he's doing. So I have no issue with them going, we're in an amazing spot. Let's consolidate.
Yeah. And if they say they hadn't made that call and then Piastri attacks and takes each other out, we'd all three of us be sat there going, why the hell didn't they call that?
I might have flipped the table.
And in my own house.
In your home, not mine.
Cheers, Sam.
You're welcome. Anything for you?
I don't know what sort of conversation they would have had pre-race as well, but I think with both drivers, if they didn't, they should have done, just outlined, if we're in second and third after the first few laps, it doesn't matter what order that is in, just stay. Just stay like that and work as a team, because that's way too many points on the table to throw away. You're absolutely right.
I think Piastri also got the better start off the line. I think he just ran out of space to
He did.
keep going.
I tell you what, and this is completely inadvertent as well, but please stick with me on this point.
Oh, God.
Imagine something like, I'll change the circuit. I'll say a different circuit. Mexico, because I was going to say Spain, turn 1.
Yep.
Imagine the run down to Mexico, turn 1. Piastri might lead.
Yeah. I think we have been at least 3 wide comfortably.
Yeah. But obviously not much room to work with at turn 1 at Silverstone. Should we review our bold predictions?
Why bother?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll just save, come back next race.
See, I know you've already alluded to Jamie Chadwick's bold prediction. I think she's probably a true late breaker, because not getting it right, but nearly getting it right.
Oh, yeah.
A triple parter.
Very late breaking.
I mean, yeah, I guess you two were pretty close this race.
I was 1 position off.
And Ben
Well,
was only
let's start with
one
Sam's
Aston
then.
Martin.
What was your bold prediction?
So I said 3rd place to 8th place in qualifying will be separated by 2 tenths, and I got a little excited because I was desperately scanning the time sheet in Q3, and it was 1/10.5 between 3rd and 7th. And I'm thinking, close lap here, Albon and Alonso are left. Alonso does literally nothing with his life going around that last Q3 appearance. It was a terrible lap. And then Albon's still going. I see the time lift up. He overtakes Alonso. I'm thinking, it's improved. We're getting close. 3.5 tenths off.
Not
Give it a
enough.
go.
I tried.
Imagine, well,
Still a 0.
we'll get onto this a little bit later. If Perez was there, probably right.
He's let everyone down, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Ooh, Harry, yours was a nail biter as well. Verstappen not on the podium.
Oh, you were close.
Ooh, yep. They're so close.
Good.
Lovely win. Well done, Verstappen. And my one, I went too bold. I went too bold because I feel like I went down the right path.
Lance Stroll tried for you.
Yeah.
I said Aston Martin would score 0 points.
Your lack of faith
Lance
in
Stroll
Fernando Alonso. Come on.
scored 0 points, but unfortunately, Fernando Alonso, who wasn't very quick,
No.
and I'm not going to put that on himself. I think the car just wasn't very quick. At one point, he was defending P9. He was defending from Gasly in P9, and I was like, all right. Ooh. Nah. I forgot Alonso is Alonso, and he managed to scrape at an all right finish. So.
On that point with Alonso and Gasly, I have a theory that Alonso was just doing that on purpose.
Banter.
Just really winding Gasly up.
Just toying with him. Gasly had a bad time with Aston Martin today.
Yeah, not great time.
No, and I know we're going to get onto it properly, so we won't discuss it now, but it was not fun for him. Ben, you might have known this, but me and Harry found out something about Lance Stroll today that we didn't know.
Go on.
Lance Stroll's got his real name.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Oh. For those listening, Lance Strollovich.
I didn't know this.
Did you not?
No, you
Yeah.
bloody work with him.
I should work. Yeah.
some
I sit next
capacity.
to him.
You don't know that.
Yeah, I know. Well, everyone calls him Mr. Stroll.
It's normal that I don't know because I'm a moron, but come on.
Big boss man. That's what they
I
call him.
understand. That makes way more sense. Like when you go get a kebab.
The Grand Fromage. All right, big boss man.
You go, all right, boss man. I'll have a
Are you going
donger.
to tell me next that his first name isn't actually Papa?
No, that's true. Papa Stroll and Papa Tojo.
Boss man.
Oh, yeah, Papa Tojo.
I'll have a strawberry Mirinda,
Stop it.
chicken donger, and chips for his boss man.
Lawrence Stroll working in a kebab van.
Siphoning off rubber from his Pirellis.
Well, normally when we go to a break, it's time for sandwiches, but today it's time for a chicken doner. We'll be right back after this.
Chicken donger.
Cheers, Homer.
Okay, we've just discussed how well that race went for McLaren. Ferrari.
Oh.
Oh,
No.
They didn't have a great race. They had a pretty good qualifying. but not a great race. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz both seemed to struggle for pace throughout. Ultimately, Charles Leclerc finished P9, and that was the best finish of the two Ferraris, as Carlos Sainz, not pitting under the safety car quite late on, dropped a few positions down to P10, which, if you get your abacuses out, that is 3 total points for the Scuderia. Not very many is another way of saying that. Sam, break it down.
Break it down.
Oh no,
like a rap. I'm not going to rap. It was a bit like, you know, when the classic rolling a snowball off a big hill and it's slowly gathering and gathering and gathering and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because it's starting off okay. You know, the starts were both all right. They were fighting closely with the Mercedes. They were not falling too far back from McLaren, although it was very interesting to see that by the time Leclerc pitted, who was the first to pit from the front runners, which I think was the first mistake, the gap was already about 4.5 to 5 seconds, so they really did slowly eke things out. Now, of course, no one really knew how well the hard tyre was going to perform. Leclerc goes onto the hard tyre. It doesn't go well. You see on the lovely little graphic that AMS provide, you know, if Russell were to pit now, this would be the gap. This would be the gap. And that gap is getting smaller and smaller to a point where then Russell is now jumping Leclerc. So the hard tyre not working. To this point, you know, Carlos Sainz's engineer, Ricky, pops up on the old mic. Carlos, what do you think about Plan B? Carlos comes back. I don't know what Plan B is. Can you remind me? I'm going to have to take a look, because I don't remember either, apparently.
Let me consult my sheet.
Yeah, let me just look at my bit of paper. Never comes back and tells us what Plan B might actually be anyway.
we still don't know.
Still don't know. Who knows? Plan B is to someone that sings great songs from the UK.
Do you think it was finished P10?
Yeah, that's a great song title. Thank you, Carlos. So that's not good. But then what baffled me at that point is Carlos pits, after seeing Leclerc struggling on these hard tyres, after watching George Russell do half the race on softs, you then still put him on the hard tyre, which the softs can clearly go that full race, that full half-length race that you've just seen. Your car is lighter. You've seen that the hard tyre is not giving you the proper speed over longevity that you want. Split the strategy. Do something different. Okay. And then they get hit with bad luck, because again, you cannot predict a safety car. You can try and make your strategy work to it, but, you know, you've got to pit eventually. And they both have pitted when the safety car emerges, which puts them further back at that point, because you got to remember, they were the car closest to McLaren before that all happened. And then they're not, all of a sudden. But then the pace just disappears. I don't know if that's hard tyre, how they're working with it. The car not doing well. Carlos Sainz got overtaken by all of Great Britain over 3 corners at one point, it felt like. It was just a disastrous day where they had no speed at the end of it. The strategy was wrong. The engineers don't know what they're talking about. The tyre choices are bizarre. The safety car timing is awful. It could not really have gone worse other than maybe a DNF for them. Pretty classic Ferrari today.
Pretty rubbish.
Pretty rubbish.
Have you got anything more to say other than pretty rubbish, Harry?
Very rubbish.
Very rubbish. That's good from you.
Not
on the fence.
Nice expanding.
Thank you. Yeah, it was not ideal for Ferrari.
Thanks.
They were slow, and then they didn't help themselves by being stupid at the same time.
Slow and stupid is not a good combination.
Bad combo. Yeah, the Leclerc first pit stop, I guess they weren't necessarily to know that the hard tyres weren't going to work straight out of the box, but it did surprise me how early they did pit Leclerc. I know he had Russell right on his gearbox, but Russell wasn't getting past him.
Yeah.
He was trying, but he was not
Track
getting
position
past.
was yours, baby.
But yeah, I guess, but as you say, once they saw that the hard tyres were not great.
Ropey.
He was only just going to come out in front of Russell, but then Russell was going to have way fresher tyres anyway. This is Leclerc, sorry. So yeah, why they then decided to put Sainz on hards baffles me a little bit, because you can see how long people are going in the race with mediums, softs with Russell. Then the safety car comes out. They pit Leclerc again, which I understand. Makes sense. Would have put him on softs rather than mediums, but whatever.
Yeah.
Just leave. But then just leave Sainz out there. Just leave Sainz out there on old tyres.
Yeah.
Why?
Every choice you could have got wrong, you got wrong.
Why did they do that? I don't understand.
It's because Ricky lost the strategy plan.
Still trying to find plan B. Yeah, so all in all, not a well-executed race from Ferrari, given where they started. They both lost 5 places from where they started, which is bad.
Yeah.
Albon scored the same amount of points as they did, right?
That's Ferrari.
Well, no, he scored more.
Oh, he got more, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, 1 point more.
Albon is bigger than Ferrari.
Well,
I'd
very
argue
much
that's
so.
our influence.
Very much so. I know, Leclerc was catching the Albon and...
Catching the Albon.
The Albon, sorry. Catching
The Michael.
Alonso and the Albon towards the end of the race. But yeah, didn't get past him. So, look, last year, at least Ferrari were quick most of the time and were stupid. They could sometimes make up for their stupidity with quickness.
I argue as well that Sainz got saved a little bit because of Lance Strolovic absolutely destroying Pierre Gasly's car.
Yeah, also true.
He was out the points at one point.
Yeah, because I think Gasly probably might have got past Sainz. We did at one point.
Yeah.
Briefly. So, yeah. So that combination of slow and stupid is not working well for them.
You've summarised that perfectly. Fast and stupid isn't great, but it's better than slow and stupid, which is kind of what we've got right now. I don't know. I don't think anyone at Ferrari is aware of this, so I am going to say it. I know I've made this point a couple of times. I feel like I'm going to have to keep making this point until someone at Ferrari listens, because either they don't know about it or they do know about it, but they're too stupid to do anything about it. The softer the tyre is, the better Ferrari are. Just every time they are quick at a race weekend, it's because we've brought the C3, C4 and C5 tyres. Every time they're not very quick when we come to a race weekend, it's like here at Silverstone where it's C1, C2, C3. But if you are at one of those events where it might not go quite as well, lean into the softest tyre compounds that they have rather than the opposite of that, which is what they did. I didn't mind too much the Charles Leclerc decision to pit because... yes, you're right, George Russell was definitely not getting past. But based on a standard Grand Prix, you would expect that George Russell was not too far away from coming into the pits and would almost definitely have got an undercut on Charles Leclerc. So I think they were just protecting against that. Okay, understand it. The only other driver that we'd seen on the hard tyre was Hulkenberg, and that didn't last for more than a few laps, and Valtteri Bottas. So you didn't really have much of a comparison point, right? So I can understand why they thought, oh, let's give it a go. We don't want to try and two-stop. Let's just go onto the hard tyre and make this work. It didn't work. And that's why, like you, Sam, I'm completely confused at the second strategic call, which was to do almost the same thing with Carlos Sainz. At that point, I can't remember the lap that Sainz came into the pits, but George Russell has gone a long way on softs by that point. You know that they can last a long time. How about go with that?
Use them.
Go with that. Give it a try. Why not?
Ferrari, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It's a shocker for Ferrari here to make the same mistake literally minutes apart from each other.
Vintage Ferrari.
That is, this is what the big brain strap was invented for.
It really was. The decision under safety car. Was there any other driver that was on the hard tyre and didn't pit?
Piastri
was the only one.
Piastri was the only one.
Piastri was the only one.
And he made it work.
I can't remember any others, right?
I got in the top 10, that's for sure.
And I think it was established at that point that even though a still questionable decision about the hard tyre, at that point, McLaren were quite comfortably clear of Ferrari and Aston Martin. Whereas Ferrari were very much in a dogfight with all the other teams around them where a tyre deficit like they had could have been and was very costly. So, yeah, I think they probably should have gone for it. And that's Carlos Sainz's fault for putting it in the hands of Ferrari. He was like, He's been so good at that as well.
Carlos, what are you playing at, man?
Usually he calls the shots.
This is probably a wider point for F1 teams. But when there's a safety car, and there's the opportunity to change tyres, those that don't change tyres, and this is more often than not, I'd say 95% of the time.
That's big percent.
One that I've just made up. The ones that stay out on their old tyres, they never end up doing well.
Apart from Piastri.
Apart from, that's what I said, 95%.
Yeah, he is the 5%. He's the P.
But the most of the time, so I don't understand why there's ever even a question over it. Like, maybe you could lose out to a couple of drivers, but if they're the ones staying out and you're on the softer rubber, you got that juicy rubber. 95% probably going to get past.
Use it.
Yeah, so I just don't quite understand why there's ever even a question mark over pitting or not. If it's just always the way it goes.
Goddamn right. Best point
there are some circumstances
Okay,
where
I'll
it
quit
makes
now.
sense. But you're right. More often than not, it doesn't. Like if you are, let's say, driving a Williams, probably makes sense to stay out because
Give it a
no one
go.
can get past you.
Yeah.
Or if you're at Monaco, sure, no one can get past you. Silverstone, you can make overtakes happen and you're not driving a Williams.
All part of the
Consider
5%, I'd argue. These little bits that you've just brought up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
5 things.
I think your percentages are so accurate.
Thank you so much.
You should be a statistician.
Okay. A statistician.
That's the word now.
Or a statistician.
Stack man!
Statistician, man.
Is it a statistician because you've taken all the S's in your own name, Sam?
Yes. I had to put all the T's in instead.
Yeah.
Right, got it.
Statistician.
For Tommy.
Very statistician.
Oh my God, move on.
Was that an attempt at Stevie Wonder?
TV Wonder, yes. Very
Does Stevie
superstitious.
Wonder get your driver of the day, Sam?
Driver of the day.
Oh, that's a good reminder. I'm so on it with these sort
You're
of
great.
things. Oh, it's because I was so
Give it 10 seconds.
so engrossed in that. Well, I just got to find the soundboard. I was so engrossed in
soundboard.
making that good point. Right, here you go, Live Laugh TV.
The verdict is in. You're the driver of the day. You're the driver of the day. You're good at driving.
And what
Who's
should we
gonna
do
drive
about Live Laugh for TV after that great jingle?
What should we do with him?
Well,
no, I know what you're getting at.
has to make me off.
Yeah,
To the
folks.
dungeons.
I said I would do this the other day, but I forgot. Live Laugh Latifi, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, has made an album of the jingles that he's made for us, plus a couple of
Extra little bits.
extra juicy bits. So if you go onto Spotify and type in Live Laugh Latifi, we'll put a link in the description.
Link in the description. A favourite.
Yeah,
For a while.
go and check it out because it's got all the bangers on there, as I say, plus a couple of extras.
Haas, a personal favourite.
Haas is a personal favourite.
What's the one where you do lay back on?
Gammon juice.
Gammon juice.
So
Gammon juice.
Sipping on gammon juice.
Lead back.
So good. Got my whirly on my mind and my mind on my whirly. It's so good.
Anyway, so they go Live Laugh TV. Sorry for forgetting to do that last time, but it's a
And the artwork's fantastic.
legendary album.
Yeah. Right, my driver of the day. I'm going to go with Lando Norris. And we joked about this when we were watching the telly. That Max Verstappen didn't even get a % on the national vote or the international vote of driver of the day, despite dominating at every point other than the race start. But he was competitive. He got that brilliant start. He held off everyone behind him very comfortably. He kept Verstappen as honest as we've seen from another team this season. He led that team really, really well. The only thing he probably could have done better was actually tell his race engineer how many laps he'd like to do at that pace. If you're just saying, "I'm comfy, mate. I'm comfy. Whatever you want, I'm comfy." But he was brilliant. It was great to see him fighting up the front there. It's about time he got a shot regularly to hopefully fight for podiums. So, may this be the first of many this season.
Last week, I thought it was a debate between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. This week, I think it's a debate between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen.
Nice.
Literally no change. I think those two were the best drivers out there today. I thought George Russell was pretty unlucky. I think he had a pretty good race. If it weren't for the safety car. But I'm going to give it to Lando Norris.
Nice.
2 for 2.
Nice.
Are you going to make it a triple?
There's 3.
I'm waiting for it.
Oh my God, there's 3. I am. I'm going to give it to Lando Norris.
Mom, get the camera! I just got a triple kill in Modern Warfare! Oh, baby, there's 3!
The fact that Verstappen on the driver of the day vote on the actual TV doesn't even get a look
Doesn't
in
exist.
just because he's so people have just accepted that now. He's really good.
doesn't exist.
Whatever. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
He does not exist anymore. That's the rule.
Do you remember when only he won that? Like when it first came in,
Yeah.
and it was like Verstappen driver of the day every week.
Didn't he get it once when he retired?
Yeah, because it was a troll thing, wasn't it? Like, finishes 4th.
Yeah.
89% of the vote.
But yeah, Verstappen was obviously supreme again today. Managed his race very well. Even when he gets bad starts now, he doesn't freak out and chuck a dive bomb. He just, sorts it out later on. So he was very
Simply
good.
lovely.
But Norris was supreme. Look, Piastri as well. He's
Deserves
a
a shout.
contender.
Yeah.
A really, really solid job. And as you say, like Russell, was very unlucky with that timing
like
of
Russell.
that safety car. Like Russell, boss man. But yeah, I'm going to go for Norris. So the British bias continues on this podcast.
Worst driver of the day, Sam.
Comes down. Oh yeah, can you play the jingle, please?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Get in the bin, 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 bin. Worst driver of the day. Bin, bin, bin. Worst driver of the day. Bin, bin, bin. You suck at driving.
Did we say that's what the album's called, by the way? In the bin.
In the bin. The album's
Best
called
of the bin. Sorry, best of the bin.
Best of the bin.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
Beautiful name.
2 contenders for me. It's going to come down to newly named Lance Strolovic, who off the track, on the track, black or white flag, penalty for hitting someone, breaking their suspension, or whatever it was, puncture, whatever it might have been. And Carlos Sainz, who was just slow as balls and didn't understand his own
Tennis
strategy
balls.
at any point. I'd argue tennis balls were faster than him at one point.
croquet balls.
Correct, that's more like it. Billiard.
Don't say that again.
Croquet balls.
Oh God.
bit slower.
I'm gonna go with Mr. Strolovic himself. It was very slow in comparison to his teammate, who was also struggling a little bit due to the car not working. But the fact that you picked up the penalties, you ruined someone else's race. You were never quick at any point, and you were the first, I think, to exceed track limits the most. So it just was not a good race from Lance. He's had some better ones this season.
Fair to say, yes,
Yeah.
he has.
My worst driver of the day is Lance Stroll. Consider not driving into anyone.
In the book.
Write that one down.
Just, I don't know, just sit down, have a think, but I would honestly consider not doing that.
When are we going to release this book?
I don't know. It's huge so far.
End of the season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an anthology at this point.
The LB book.
Late Breaking's Guide to Driving.
The L book.
Old Booko.
El Bucarino.
Nice.
Is it going to be another triple?
Look, I'll give it some variation. I think it's a fair shout for Strolovic. Nick de Vries. He was rubbish again today, wasn't he? Wasn't he last, I think, by the end?
To be honest, I kind of forgot he was there.
Yeah.
Literally forgot about him.
Yeah.
I think he finished only just behind Tsunoda, though.
I don't think the AlphaTauri was great, but just very slow.
Wasn't it supposed to be upgraded this weekend?
Didn't look
That
like
was it. Look at it go. Look how high it can fly.
Yeah.
Just off the ground, like me jumping after a full dinger. That was.
You could argue it flies as high as a slug.
I'll go for de Vries, but
Someone's got to.
for the sake of variation.
Good.
Sorry, Nick.
And the last of this trio, Big Brain Strategy Award.
Bob, we're gonna need you to box for wets. What? It's not even raining out. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Bob, if you get a chance, let your teammate pass you. What? He crashed out. He's not even in the race.
That synth is so good. I think it could belong. This is a bit. You'll need to know your musical references now. But on the album of The Killers, which has got Jenny Was a Friend of Mine on it, and
Hot Fuss.
Hot Fuss, that's the one that came before Sam's Town. Genuinely, that synth could be part of a Killers track.
Yeah,
I think.
I agree.
Big Brain. We'll do a moment of the race later. Big Brain. I'm going to have to give it to old Fezzer. The interaction of them not understanding what their own plan B is and then putting Carlos Sainz on the same strategy as Leclerc that didn't work. I'm sorry. It was hilariously atrocious.
In all honesty, that's my answer. But to give something else, Lando Norris's nonchalance is fantastic. Like, it just no emotion, absolutely at all. Like when he's giving how many more laps? Lando, how many more laps? Don't know, mate.
I ain't got a
Fairly
clue.
consistent in it. I'm comfy. It's fine.
Yeah. Just tell them the laps, Lando.
You just work it out, mate.
Last lap, Lando. Remember that?
I do remember that. Crofty, another one from you. Another zinger.
Good old 2020.
Kind of glad that's dead.
Aren't we all?
Along with Mr. Saturday. Go on, Harry.
Oh, God. For me, well, I don't think there's any other ones that I can really think of that were particularly bad, or at least bad to the extent the Ferrari one was. So I'll. You said Ferrari. You said them not knowing what Plan B was, right?
Yeah, and then putting Sainz on the hards.
I'll to mix it up. I'll say Ferrari then not pitting signs into the safety car.
Yeah.
Times 2 for Fezzer.
Alrighty. Good job, Feather.
Alrighty then.
You would have had a triple, but Ben decided to be nice.
Yeah, what a surprise. We'll take a short break, give Ferrari a chance to have a think about how bad their day's been, and we'll be discussing Sergio Perez right after this.
Sit on the stair and think about what you've done.
Go on.
You're a very naughty boy.
What is becoming a bit of a regular occurrence, Sergio Perez not even able to make Q2 on Saturday this time out, starting the race P15 as a result of Valtteri Bottas's disqualification from qualifying, but actually finishing P16 in the classification on Saturday. Managed to recover back to P6, made quite a few overtakes in the first half of the Grand Prix, and then utilised the safety car to get up to P6 for 8 points. Sam, what do you make of that result?
Oh, Mangs is rubbish, isn't he?
Please stop.
Sorry. I've got the boss man attitude. Honestly, it's not okay now. It's not good enough. It is genuinely past the point of, he just needs a... Hold on, sorry, let me rephrase. He just needs a confidence booster. He'll be back next race. No, sorry. I think the reputation's gone down the drain at the moment. It is atrocious. I saw a statistic that he has only been in Q3 now for 56% of Q3 possibilities, which is pretty atrocious. And on the weekend where his teammate picked up his 5th consecutive pole position... that's 5 in a row, baby, if you don't know what that means. And you were not in Q3 for the 5th consecutive time. It is atrocious. I know that qualifying has never, ever been your thing, but you're making your own life so much harder than it needs to be. Even if you got P8, fine, you can probably get yourself up to a podium again. He was overtaking slowly throughout the race. It took him a long time. I think it was, lap 14 or 15. He was still only in P12. He only moved up 3 places. And then it got to another, 5-6 laps. He was just on the back of the pack that was in front of him. It took time. And he was aided by the safety car. It worked in his favour. He hadn't stopped yet. I don't think he was able to get the stop done, go onto the soft tyres. The strategy worked well for him in that car with that capability. I'm not saying that he could have been second place, because I do think that pack was a lot closer at the Silverstone Grand Prix. But I do think that he should have got past the likes of... did he get Alonso in the end?
He did.
Right, well done. You got Alonso. But I do think that maybe he should have been fighting through to P4, attacking Piastri come the end of the race. It was still not good enough. I do think that other drivers could be doing a better job way more consistently than what Sergio Perez is doing. And it shouldn't be a conversation of, has he fought back enough? He shouldn't be that far back in the first place regardless. It really isn't but he's still finished, 5th or 6th or 7th, whatever it might be, after starting 16th. He shouldn't be starting below 5th. That's how bad this has been for Sergio Perez. It genuinely is now out of the seat by end of season territory, I reckon.
And I think, as a bit of a teaser, that might well be a conversation we have on our next midweek episode, thinking what we would do about the situation. Harry, what did you think of that comeback?
Rubbish, if we're being honest. Another rubbish.
Very rubbish.
The weekend as a whole, or the actual comeback on the Sunday?
All of it. Yeah, the whole thing. Put it in the bin. The qualifying thing, fine. No, not fine, obviously.
Opposite of fine.
Slightly circumstantial, I guess, because of the weather, but if you still shouldn't be qualifying, shouldn't be out in Q1 with that car. But if you can at least fight back, which he has done before, which that's, end result is pretty much the same as it would have been, potentially, then okay. But if you can't fight back to where that car should be, you got to 6th. And as you say, Sam, he had a safety car that worked exactly in his favour. So I think the worst bit for me was today rather than the qualifying itself, because he didn't... People cheering for, I don't know.
Perez's downfall.
Perez, Brando. Yeah, no, Daniel Ricciardo fans outside. If he can't even fight his way back to the front. I know you say P2 was out off the cards today, and the pack was quite close in terms of pace, but that car's really good.
It is really good.
And he should be able to get it back up to the pointy end of the field.
And he had DRS a lot of the time, and that is where it works the best.
So, just not great from Checo today. As I say, I think today was the worst bit for me We've seen him fight back before from bad qualifying, and as we said, qualifying's never been his strength. He should not be going out this often in Q1 and Q2, but...
I mean, at this rate, he's the worst qualifier on the grid.
Well, he's not doing... Yeah.
You know, it's not just not a strength. It is the worst performance across all 20 drivers at this point. Yeah. In comparison to where the car's performance should be to where he's actually putting it.
Agree. So, sort your qualifying out. That will obviously help things, but if you're going to qualify badly, if you're insisting on doing that...
if you really want to keep doing it,
then at least be able to fight back, because today was just, as I say, rubbish.
It's, for me, confusing more than anything in terms of the qualifying form, because the actual form discussion is kind of the same thing that happened last year, in that he was better at the sort of first part of the season, a lot more street circuits, and then as soon as we got into the bulk of the European season where it's more actual racetracks, his pace dropped off. That's what we saw last year, and that's what we're seeing again this year. But at least last year, when the car wasn't quite as quick, you know, it was certainly Ferrari were right there. There's no team that's right there this year. The qualifying wasn't a problem, or at least it wasn't enough of a problem that he's getting knocked out in Q1 and Q2. Yeah, Perez had a few rubbish sort of P7 starts last year, but at this point, he'd jump all over a P7 start, wouldn't he? Based on what's happening. It's honestly confusing, because we're not talking about a driver that's 2 years into his F1 career or quite new into the Red Bull. This is a guy who has been in F1 for over a decade. And whilst qualifying has never been his strength, he's always been fine enough at qualifying. Like, he's always been good enough, even if his actual advantage comes on Sunday. It's just utterly confusing as to how each and every week it's something different. It's either Monaco, it's the Q1 crash, or here it's the weather. And you say it might be circumstantial,
everyone
but
else dealt
it's
with
the
it.
same circumstances as everyone else. And Verstappen's not getting knocked out in Q1. He's not getting knocked out in Q2. He's not finishing P2 overall. He's getting pole position. So I completely agree with what you said, Sam, in that the comeback itself doesn't really matter that much. The problem is the source. The source is Source, not the
raw sauce.
Sauce. But it's the source is the qualifying, right? That is what he needs to target, because he managed to make his way 9 positions back up, but if you start P5, you don't need to make 9 positions. And P5 is a pretty conservative target. If Verstappen is getting pole positions and Perez is getting, let's say, average P5, I don't think we're sat here saying that's great, but it's certainly a big step in the right direction that it's not happening for him right now. So in terms of race day, in terms of what happened out there today, I think overall, I actually think the comeback was about what he should have done, just because I don't think Verstappen had a massive advantage on the McLarens. I think overall it looked to be about 0.2, maybe 0.3 that Verstappen was quicker per lap versus the McLaren duo, in which case, given how many cars he had to overtake, I think maybe P2 and P3 might have been a step too far for him. So actually P6 I was okay enough with, but again, the point is he shouldn't even be there. He overtook most of the drivers outside the top 10 fairly quickly, I thought. And then as soon as he got past, I'm trying to remember who it was now. It might have been Stroll. He might have got past Stroll, and then he got to like P10 or P11, and he just hit a bit of a brick wall at that point, and he couldn't gain on, I think, Alex Albon.
The
for
wall
the rest
is
of that
named
stint.
Alex.
Always Alex. So I don't know. He just needs to qualify better, doesn't he?
I think he'd be great in Formula E. Might be where he's going soon.
Bloody hell. Oh, jeez. It's not that bad.
It's a bit harsh on them.
Joking. Insulting everyone today. Anyway, we might well be discussing Perez's future a little bit more in future episodes, but we'll move on to Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly. As has already been mentioned, Pierre Gasly didn't have a great time today with Aston Martin drivers, but if you thought he was having a bad time with Fernando Alonso early on in the Grand Prix, he didn't know what was yet to come with Lance Stroll. There were 2 separate incidents on this, so let's go through them one at a time. The first one,
This was where Lance Stroll overtaking Pierre Gasly around the outside of Stowe, but having to go off track in order to do so. Stewards had a look at it, decided that either no investigation was necessary or no penalty was necessary. I can't remember which one they said. Harry, what did you make of that decision?
I was okay with it, I think. Gasly... I'm not okay with people overtaking each other off track, but Gasly also just didn't leave any room, and Stroll's fully alongside him. So, I don't know. We're back to the classic lame track limits discussions. If it was gravel there, then they probably wouldn't have done it. But we don't have gravel anymore.
We move.
So I was okay, I think, with that not being investigated. I know Gasly was a bit annoyed, but it's just like, well, he was from what I remember, he was fully alongside Gasly when that move was happening, right?
I believe so.
Sam nods, Ben nods.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you never know with Ben, do you?
A nod of approval.
The way you said Ben there, God,
You know what you get with me?
never know with Ben.
Never know with Ben. Yeah. So for me,
Ben.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that call. Yeah, as I say, Gasly won't be happy with that. Well, it gets worse for him anyway. But I think it was the right call not to investigate that one.
Are you in agreement with the stewards, Sam?
I 100% agree with everything that happened on that racetrack.
So, that was so long. It felt like there was going to be a left turn somewhere.
However,
I'm leaving the show. No, Harry's absolutely bang on. I have every acceptance of being called out if you're overtaking off the track, right? If you've just kept on going with your foot in it and you're using more than the track limits, fine. But when you're alongside someone, you have every right to a car's width all of the time you leave the space, as Lance Stroll's teammate once said. Well done, me. English is hard. And yet, Pierre Gasly did not all of the time leave the space. He shut the door, and I think Stroll was perfectly entitled to the outside line going through Stowe. He didn't get it. Where else was he going to go? Disappear? Magic trick, is it? Is he just going to wave the little curtain and vanish? No. He's got to go somewhere. That's off the track. And the defence that Pierre Gasly gets for closing the door is losing the position. I think it was a very fair trade, and I think they sort it out quite fairly.
Fair trade, I like that.
Fair trade. You shut the door on me, I get your spot.
Deal. I don't have too much more to add because I agree with you both entirely here. It is 100% how I see this rule, and I was really worried on this that the stewards were going to disagree with me because, well, they do about everything else.
Regularly happens.
So, yeah, I was happy to see their decision on this. I always think that if you aren't prepared to leave the room on the outside or the inside of a corner, when you're side by side and you have to use the track in order to get by, too bad. Leave them the space. If you don't leave them the space, stop whining. Now, if Pierre Gasly had left a full car's width and Stroll had still gone off track to make the move count, yes, that is 100% a penalty. But if Gasly's using the full extent of the track and Stroll is having to take evasive action in order to get it done, I have absolutely no sympathy for the driver that's lost the spot. Leave the space next time.
Leave the space. Enjoy your race.
Nice. Get that on a t-shirt.
Well, Lance Stroll's come out of that one pretty well.
Oh
no.
Let's have a look at the second one. So that wasn't the end of Pierre Gasly versus Lance Stroll, as they had contact the corner after Stowe. They had the contact at Vale. What did you make of that one, Harry?
Lance. This time, Pierre, he leave it a space.
You leave it the space.
That's a good race.
Enjoy your race when you leave it the space.
So, yeah, Gasly left the space this time. I don't know whether it was a car's width, but there was a good chunk of space.
Curb to run on.
Yeah. So what you shouldn't do then is just like launch yourself over those curbs and run into him.
Sausage.
Well, for avoidance of doubt, Lance Stroll's fault on that one. Agree with the stewards again, which is rare. Twice in one race, but...
Agree with the extent of the penalty as well?
It
It didn't really end up mattering, but...
Yeah.
unfairly to Gasly.
Maybe could have been a bit harsher. I don't know. 5 seconds seems to be the norm for anything now. Just 5
Literally,
seconds.
that is the slap on the wrist that you get these days.
So, yeah, could be a bit harsher.
Run
I
over a
think.
child, 5 seconds.
Fuck, really?
Yeah, that's the rules.
No jail. Yeah, just don't run over the curb and knock out a fellow competitor. I was really surprised. Really surprised how easily that Alpine suspension broke. Wasn't a lot of contact. No, and we know the Aston Martin's
That's
made
not
of
what that's
iron.
not about.
Did it break? Oh, because I thought he went back out after his pit stop.
I don't think so, did it? I think he retired.
Or was he done? Wasn't good though, was it?
Wasn't good. So, yeah, this one's on you, Lance. Don't just. Fair enough when you're not given space, but when you are given a space, don't then repay that favour by clattering into the car that's next to you. Yeah, write that one down.
Yeah, I've already given Lance Stroll my advice for not crashing into drivers. I just thought it was. I don't know if you agree. It kind of got worse on every replay. Yeah. Like the first replay was like, oh, that looks interesting. Let's have another. And then the second replay comes, oh, come on, Lance. And then the third was like, oh no, really? He's cannonballed into him there. Great. It caps off what wasn't a very good day for Lance Stroll. I agree with the stewards. 5 seconds is at the minimum of what he deserved there. Arguably, maybe could have been 10 seconds. Obviously, he didn't score points, so it didn't really matter if it was 5 or 10. But not ideal, is it?
Not ideal.
Sam?
10 seconds for me. I think 5.
Life ban.
I think 5 was too lenient. He went off on his own accord. The space was there. He could have stayed on the track. And then he is rejoined unsafely straight into a competitor. And that, for me, is dangerous driving. I don't care about whether Gasly retires or not. We don't judge penalties based on the outcome of what happens. Not here. And I think it's very different to a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact that we've seen a few times on the track, which we've all agreed is pretty much a 5-second penalty. You know, going around the corner side by side, something hits, or one of you runs off, or, you know, one of you spins. I think he rejoined the track completely unsafely, and I think realistically it could have led to a bigger accident. We were quite lucky, actually. Gasly wasn't, but generally quite lucky that one of the cars was able to just scamper off to the side like a wounded animal and drag itself back round to its little home, because it could have caused, if they both came together the wrong way, both cars in the track, there's cars coming quickly behind, he's jumped off of a curb at full speed. It's just bad, really, really bad. So for me, this is dangerous. It's 10 seconds. I think, you know, his race already got ruined from the penalty, regardless of what that time was. So I guess the desired effect was had. But for consistency, if we see this happen again, I would want 10.
All right, one last quick break. On the other side, we'll be discussing our moment of the race. Harry, kick us off. What was your moment of the race?
Can I just say, some really great team radio this race.
Great team radio. I want more of it.
I am considering a George Russell team radio of the race segment.
I think there's going to have to be.
He needs it.
He's knocking out of the park every race. I won't go through all of them. I mean, quickly, Ricky, quickly. Which I can't even say.
Quickly, Ricky.
From Carlos Sainz was glorious.
Or Ricky.
Ricky!
That's a niche British reference.
We've already talked about it, but not knowing what Plan B is. Another great
Sensational.
one. But I will go for something that's actually not funny, but just really good. Lando Norris defending from Lewis Hamilton was sublime.
Oh, it was.
Was delightful. Just where he placed his car on every opportunity.
Fair, but aggressive.
Yeah.
Got the job done.
Sorry,
I was just going to say how quickly he went to the left of the Wellington Straight as soon as, like, spawn.
Yeah. We both together made some strange noises watching them because it was so close to pain, and yet so far.
So I, as you say, the defending on the Wellington Straight, I think his defending into because Hamilton was trying to line him up for that, like, the old switcheroo, as Crofty would say.
Switchback of dreams.
The under and over through Luffield, but Lando sort of like put it out wide, parked the bus a bit, and Hamilton couldn't get it. So yeah, that for me, they were P2 because Lando Norris defended like an absolute G,
an absolute champ.
Yeah,
a boss man.
I've got two that I was considering. You've already brought up team radio, in which case I will just say George Russell saying, "Wouldn't be so sure about that, mate."
Oh, George.
Was great. But actually, it still concerns George Russell, my moment of the race. His move around the outside again of left field.
Good Lord.
I don't want to lean too much into British bias here. That was just really good.
Bloody lovely.
Utter filth.
Oh, cheerio, governor. I'll see you later, because that is gorgeous.
I'm surprised he didn't say that.
Yeah, me and George are one and the same.
What was your moment of the race, Sam?
Again, concerns George Russell. Can you get the bleep ready, please?
Oh, God.
Yep.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's when we were stacking up under the safety car, and George, of course, is doing his diagnosis of the entire grid, and he sees that Lewis Hamilton is ahead of him, and he goes, "Has Lewis pit?" And the race engineer goes, "Yes." And he goes, "Ah, all right."
That was well timed. I was almost certain that the beat would follow like 6 seconds after you said it, so well done.
Loved it.
Yeah, we both enjoyed that.
Very funny.
That's the most British response to anything.
Yeah.
Anything bad, like, swear word.
All right
then.
I'll get on with it.
Never mind. Better luck next time.
He was so on form.
Yeah, he just is.
And that move, that was my other one, because I thought that was spectacular.
What have our Discord submitters got to say?
Right. First up, Rye Guy, who I've not heard from for a
Join the
while.
Patreon.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Rye Guy, reporting to you live from Rye Guy's closet for acoustic purposes, and also we have company over. But anyways,
We understand.
my moment of the race is Lance Stroll pulling a Rye Guy-like move and just barreling into Gasly and telling him to put those sausages away, chap. Here's a broken rear suspension. So anyways, that's definitely something I would do. Love you guys. Keep on keeping on and keep breaking late. Love you guys. Bye.
Love you, right guy.
He went straight for his sausage.
All right, Ben. Next up, Callie.
What's going on, guys? Callie coming back at you.
the
What an
YouTube
amazing
intro.
race. Holy cow. Another great race at Silverstone. Moment of the race, big brain moment, whatever you want to call it. That safety car with pitting Lando for hards, man, that was crazy. Got to give it out to Bungers, the CEO, of McLaren. I gotta say, I'll take the CFO. I'll be your right-hand man, Bungers, whenever you want it. But let's go. And then a huge shout-out to Logan Sargent for getting so close to his first points. Let's go, guys. Love the podcast.
Do you think America might erupt when Logan Sargent scores his first points?
Yes.
I don't think they're ready for it. I think it will just hit them.
This is going to sound really, really cruel. I don't think they'll care.
I like to think they won't care, and it will happen, and all of a sudden they'll just, unleash. You just hear it from across the pond.
Unleash
Like Krakatoa.
the eagle.
Yeah. But like 1,000 decibels.
I like to think Callie, his submissions are like if a cup of coffee did a submission.
Yeah. Pure caffeine injected.
Pure caffeine.
We had to stop Sam having another coffee. He's gone for the hot water.
I've only had one today.
How many?
That's enough.
Just
Yeah.
one.
I did say if I have a second one, I'll lose my head.
Well, we've seen 3, so.
Right, next up is James with no real dad.
Hey LV boys, James with my moment of the race. My moment of the race is at the end of the race, where Albon defended against Leclerc and almost also got Alonso. But still a good race for Williams. Sargent was P11, so he sadly didn't get points, but still. Also, McLaren, very good race for you. Oh well, keep breaking late and goodbye.
2 things I love about James, even when Real Dad's not about. Always gives a great little recap.
Yep.
And he talks as if the teams are listening directly to him, which I also love.
Yep.
They are.
They are.
Good, they should do.
All friends of the podcast.
Yeah.
Next up, the happiest man, I think.
The CEO.
Yeah, the CEO himself. Buggers.
Hello, my late breaking lads from across Lake Big Wet. It is your McLaren CEO. Yeah. And I'm just going to say I'm proud of the boys in Papaya and Chrome today. And the moment of the race happens to be when Lando absolutely took the race lead at the start. And, it's just a great day for the team. And I'm having a great day. Yeah.
I love how happy he is.
Very happy.
He's having a great day.
Yeah.
Right, next, Norm from Texas.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be back. And guess what? Here is Norm from Texas's 2 favorite moments of the race.
Yeah,
My first moment got to be the Carlos Sainz coming with the energy of a confused mother, trying to wrangle her kids in the backseat of a car and forgetting what plan B was. And my second favorite was McLaren no longer driving a papaya tractor. Anyway, peace out. Keep breaking late.
In that it's not a tractor and it's not papaya.
A chrome McLaren instead.
Yeah.
Well, Skylar.
Lando on the podium.
They're not wrong.
Whoa, Jesus Christ. We've got a time limit to get to. Come on, Skylar.
Yeah, keep it snappy.
Crack on.
Sebelicious.
Hello, governors. My moment of the race was when Sainz got jumped by everyone. It reminded me of Stone Cold jumping Vince McMahon in the hospital. And cheerio.
Cheerio, Seb.
We met Sebelicious, didn't we?
Gold.
We did.
The fan zone.
Who had to wait outside for ages just to come and see us, so we really appreciate
Your
that.
mum had a lovely birthday.
Yes.
Mum malicious.
Okay. All good, always.
Highly breaking, wow, what a race. I mean, moment after race, it was really hard to pick, other than the fact that Lando finally got on the podium. It's so well deserved. What a lad. It's been a long time coming. But I've had to pick. I guess another one would be Carlos's engineer over the radio, where he asked him what he thought about plan B, and Carlos just kind of replied, I forgot, can you please remind me? I don't know, I just thought that was really funny.
It was.
Anyway, love the podcast, love you guys, bye.
You know what? Don't often hear Americans say lad. What a lad.
What a lad.
Feels like a really British thing to say.
Have we started it?
I think so, probably. What a lad.
Lads. LB lads.
Sorry, America.
Going to be brave on this one. There's an extra one that's coming whilst we started recording.
We've got to listen to it.
No.
Yeah, here we go. It's only 7
Unvetted.
seconds. Unvetted. Here we go. LXM, this is from.
This is Lucy, first time submission. Moment of the race is Lando Norris saying, I'm happy.
Oh, Lucy,
Yeah.
first
Cheers,
time,
Lucy.
and we loved it.
Knocked it out of the
You have
park.
delivered.
I am happy.
I was tense for a moment.
Oh,
It's out of the park.
Really seized up in there for a quick sec.
it started off really quietly. It's like there was no speaking for a bit, which really made me nervous, but we're fine.
It was great.
Well done,
Good
Lucy.
job, Lucy. Lovely to have you.
That's all of our moment of the race, right? That's all of them in.
That is Beef's asleep or something. I don't know where she is.
Let down beef.
I just have to double check we haven't got a random beef submission coming in, but all good. Thank you very much to everyone who did their submissions as per usual. We'll be back with more moment of the race for the next Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. But in the meantime, we have got other episodes coming up. So we've got Wednesday, we've got a regular episode, and next Sunday as well. Appreciate you stopping by and listening to us. Absolutely means the world to all three of us. Got a bit of a weird one. We're recording tomorrow. So we're recording early in the week. But Sam, if you wouldn't mind getting us out of here.
Yeah, hopefully something good happens and we can talk about that, because that'll be fun. Anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the race. Thanks for stopping by and listening. We really do appreciate all the support, of course. Share it with a friend. You never know. You might love it.
Yeah.
Might not. We are, of course, on all social media as the Late Breaking F1. That is across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, because we're down with the kids. Threads.
Oh, we have threads.
You threaded that in nicely.
Nice.
And we're also on YouTube, where a lot of content is on video format. So if you want to hear
On
topics,
YouTube?
yeah,
Video format?
video format, you can see these
Whatever next.
faces. Also, some good content is there from the Williams fan zone.
Oh, yeah.
That brilliant producer Kursky has got up nice and quick. She smashed
Did
it.
we make it to 10k?
Well, we're on the road. I meant Silverstone 2024.
Oh, yeah, got you.
If you do want more content, well, we have Patreon, where you could get 2 extras, which is extra episodes,
How long are we
every
gonna keep
single
doing
month,
that?
forever.
Okay.
And you also get
God
Bill
damn it.
Breaking, which we are recording as well tomorrow. We get a little bit tipsy, and we talk about life, F1, and just random stuff.
What are we going to talk about tomorrow?
Don't know.
Literally no idea.
Literally no idea. It's fueled by beer. Also, you get discount off merch, ad-free podcasts, and if you're in the top tier as well, birthday shout out. Every single month we do the birthday shout outs. If it's your birthday month, you'll hear your name. We appreciate all the support. Thank you. I think that's everything from us. Discord the link is in the description. Get involved. Plenty of people there. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Hocking.
And I've been Harry Eade.
And remember, keep breaking late.
Bye.
No, okay, fine. Bye.